Hello everyone, Chris Harris from Acmi in Melbourne, Australia. I'd like to thank the Museum of Art for welcoming us here and being so generous to host us. I'm just going to give you an overview. Acmi is Australia's Museum of Screen Culture in Melbourne, Naarm. Naarm is the First Nations people's name for Melbourne. We centre everything we do around First Nations stories and content in Australia as much as possible. Our key concerns are film, video games, television, and new media or screen-based art in particular. We have 3 temporary galleries, a permanent exhibition which has a non-narrative based history of the moving image, which is quite idiosyncratic, very Australian, as I said, centres First Nations stories, but also centres artists' commissions to speak to the history of the moving image and history of film, television and video in that exhibition. We have 2 cinemas. We run film festivals all year round, as well as the Melbourne International Film Festival. We have 3 labs, an audience lab and an industry lab where people can come and experiment and display their latest works and work with Acmi's staff. Those labs are not spatial, they work in any part of the building that seems right at the time. We have a co-working incubator with 60 small startup companies and individuals who sit at the heart of Acmi's staff offices in rented office spaces, and we collaborate with them as much as we can all the time. We have an online gallery, so that's our 4th gallery, and a streaming service which the film festivals use a lot to run their film festivals on. The streaming service was really introduced during COVID and was so successful that we've kept it, so it's really an online cinema space, so that's our 3rd cinema. And we run an international exhibition program of incoming exhibitions and artist commissions all the time, and a touring out program of major international touring exhibitions. I'm going to run a few videos because that's what we do, video at Acmi.
Your Museum of Screen Culture. Located in the heart of Melbourne, Acmi is a globally recognised, accessible and innovation-led museum with a vision to build a vibrant, diverse, connected society of screen-literate and technologically skilled watchers and players, and a thriving ecology of creative makers. Step into captivating immersive experiences, transporting you beyond the conventional. Explore exhibitions that showcase the breadth of screen culture and the technologies that drive it.
So that will give you a sense of how we treat our audiences. We have a very young audience. 70% of our visitors are between the ages of 16 and 35. We're very proud of that. We spend a lot of time trying to introduce the idea that our audience can learn to become creators and makers and collaborate with the artists that we show all the time. Hence the program of incubators and labs that we run all the time. Our most recent exhibitions have been very future focused. We consider ourselves to have a focus on the future in every sense. Although we have a large collection, we're really about looking forward, not looking backwards. Our most recent major exhibitions have been Works of Nature, Marshmallow Laser Feast, the British immersive design company, their first major exhibition which we curated with them, their first major gallery solo show, Universal Everything's Beings, both highly interactive, highly immersive exhibitions. And our most recent self-curated exhibition, which is on at the moment, is called The Future and Other Fictions, which looks at how creatives imagine futures that are possibly more positive than the dystopian futures that we are used to seeing in major films and popular culture. That is full of artists' commissions, artists really imagining what a new future might look like. So, as I said, we have a massive collection of media art, but also film, television, on many different formats. And so we spend a lot of time dealing with what we call unstable media. And I think that's something that everyone here is dealing with all the time. How do we preserve and collect all this unstable media that is changing all the time? It's the great challenge for a museum like us, and it's not something we have the answers to, but it's something we are very much engaged in trying to solve. The other thing that we deal with all the time, because we deal with major film studios and major video game studios, is what we call high capital creative works. So works that have a massive investment in them and that no single person can make. So, how you deal with those big studios and how you deal with their creative content in terms of licensing and exposing them to audiences and understanding how they're made and allowing audiences to understand how they're created is a real challenge. Some of the studios don't like to engage in that challenge, to have their secrets revealed, if you like, but that's what we do deal with all the time. And we're finding that, as we commission more and more work, this is a change that's happening, that artists' work too are becoming high capital works. No longer can single artists make highly immersive works or highly technical works by themselves. They need studios, they need different creatives, they need collaborators. And so we find that those sort of areas are merging. We have a massive analogue collection of celluloid, magnetic tape, videotapes. We have every sort of digital and analogue moving image that you can imagine. We are in the process of digitising that, which is a major project. But not just digitising it, we're trying to make it more accessible. So one of our main aims is to make our collection more accessible. And to do that, we've concentrated on making it more searchable. I'll talk about that in a moment. But the act of digitising what is over 70 years worth of collecting, and a lot of it is on film, is a major project and very time consuming. And of course, our focus is largely on the artworks that we have commissioned and that are gifted to us or we've collected over the years. They come to us in many forms, and when I say artworks, I don't just mean traditional contemporary artworks, but we have a non-hierarchical view of artworks. They could be video games, they could be many things, but they do come in a lot of different forms, which you'd all be very used to, and that's the great struggle, as I said, understanding how we can collect them and preserve them and make them accessible. One of the things that we've discovered about that, this slide is a example of some of the material collected around a video game called Untitled Goose Game. This one. Is that we need to collect different aspects of any particular work. We need to collect production works, development works, the code that is involved in making a game, the final product, different iterations of the game. It's really essential that we look at the whole entirety of what constitutes a game or a work, not just the final product. And part of that, I think we've learned, is that understanding the maker's intentions is really important. So now we spend a lot of time talking to artists and understanding how they might like their work presented, or what possible variations there are in having their work presented. Because in the future, it may be that the format that we've collected their work or that they presented their work on is no longer possible. It's just not available. So we spend a lot of time talking to artists and we interview them. We collect that interview on video so that we can preserve that in itself, so that for future generations you can look back and understand what sort of variations and what would have been acceptable to an artist to show their work in a different way. We don't collect the technology, we try and collect the artwork and the intention that the artist has. We value the human labour and the craft and different skills that go into making the various platforms that we collect, the various artworks. It's very important, like that previous slide showed, that we understand that these works are made by people, and that for our audiences we can reveal how they're made, and that they are, even though they're digital works in many cases, that they are made by people, they're made by human hands, if you like, and that's a really important fact for us. That's a little tiny taste of Untitled Goose Game, which I mentioned before, which we've collected. And you can see that in exhibition, it references the sources of some of the humour in the game. The developers used slapstick, silent era slapstick. So we like to speak to the intention of the works and where the artist's sources, influences and so on come from when we exhibit the works, not just exhibiting them on their own in isolation. This is a couple of most recent commissions. Daniel Crook's Phantom Ride, which is in our permanent exhibition, which is in the top left there, which talks about time in the motion image. Rico Rennie, What Do We Want, which is a work about Indigenous sovereignty in Australia, and also a multiplayer game called Hyper Echo, which is the bottom one. All of those have gone into our collection and all have different challenges around collecting. This is another recent commission that's on show. It opened last week, The Darkness Between the Stars, by a Ghanaian Australian artist called Sewa Atafa, an Afrofuturist. I'm going to run out of time, so I won't go into details about that work, but it shows you the breadth of the types of works that we collect, and then we have to make some decisions about what parts of the work we collect. Do we collect everything? Because she makes moving image work, but she also makes massive frames that go around her work that are technological waste that she finds and reconfigures. And do we collect that? It's expensive to collect and preserve that sort of thing. So we have an agreement with her that we can show the works without the sculptural elements of her work, but as much as possible we would try and show them together. We also recently, very proud to say, commissioned a young Kim, South Korean artist, a work called Delivery Dancers Arc, 0 Degrees Receiver.
I watched a lot of MTV things, not only music videos but also animation clips. Have you heard of Eon Flux? This is a huge reference for my project as well. Hi, my name is Ayeon Kim. I'm a contemporary artist and I work on various media like moving images, videos, VR, and sometimes performances and game simulation. I worked on this 2 years long project for the Acmi commission, which is called Delivery Dancers Arc, 0 Degree Receiver.
So that's a taste of the sorts of videos we make to record the artist's wishes, but also, of course, they're fantastic for publicity and celebrating the work. We're really proud that that work has gone on to, it was an original Acmi commission, but it's gone on to Ayeon Kim's first solo show at MoMA PS1 in New York, and is the winner of the LG Guggenheim Prize 2025. As I said, we also commission a lot of First Nations work. This next piece is, and we also encourage collaboration, and we encourage the extension of artists' work into new fields. So the next little video is a taste of 2 First Nations painters from the centre of Australia, who we put together with Ludo, who are the digital creators of the animation Bluey, who, if you have children, you will have heard of. It's the world's most popular kids show. And putting those two together created a whole new work for those artists. They had never created an animation before. We introduced them to that studio. Very quickly, because again, I think we'll run out of time. We are also looking at how we can make our collection accessible, and we've spent a lot of time, even before the recent sort of emergence of AI, using machine learning to analyse our collection. So this is an example of how we've done that. We're using machine learning to analyse every 30th frame of every piece of digitised content in our collection, so that then can be searched by keywords, by words that are actually spoken in the video or by images that you might see. So you can now search for a red car or a black dog or the sea in our collection. Time's up. I'll skip over that one. We also have a lens, which is a tool that allows everyone who visits our museum to collect everything in the museum. You can tap on using this cardboard lens, which has an NFC chip in it, and you can collect every label of every work, which allows you to go online and go deeper into the whole collection. Coming up next, I'll skip over that one, is a major new video game show which is about how game players interact with games and how the community of game players actually influence the design and making of games. That exhibition is called Game Worlds and opens in September this year. Thank you very much for listening.